Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Strategy of Everything. My name is Dave Thomas. My guest this week is Mike Morrison, the CEO and founder of SocialNext. It's a conference, a marketing conference company here in Canada. They've got events across the country from coast to coast. And it started right here in Calgary. And I talked to Mike Morrison, the founder and the CEO, about his journey and about how he kind of transitioned from, starting a blog into building a community and how that turned into events. We talked about the ups, the downs, the mistakes he's made, the things he's learned. We got personal. We talked about confidence and the illusion of confidence and how to deal with, if you're not as confident in yourself, but other people see you like you are. So Mike has a really interesting story, lots of great insights. Hope you enjoy the conversation. This is Mike Morrison and the Strategy of Conferences. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
With us, we have the CEO of... Okay, what's your official title? Because I saw your post the other day.
Oh, I hate it. I hate all of it.
I don't really want to botch the title here.
No, I don't. I did a post about how uncomfortable I am sometimes with finding my own job title. CEO, president, I don't know, SocialNext, something. I'm supposed to say it with more confidence.
Yeah.
I am the president of SocialNext.
The president. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, thanks for joining us. I had the pleasure of speaking at and attending my first SocialNext conference out in Calgary just a couple weeks ago. So I got like the firsthand experience, multiple firsthand experiences, I guess. One as a patron. And then one on the speaker side. And I would say it was pretty awesome on both sides.
Thank you. Yeah, we take pride in making sure our speakers think that, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, so tell me, how did you get into this world of conference production?
So this is coming up next year, 2026, will sort of be our 10th year doing Social West, and Social West is in Calgary. That's where I lived at the time, and it really sort of came from me trying to make sure that everyone has the same access to the same type of information. And in this sense, it was for marketers. I was seeing my friends who own small businesses paying certain types of community managers or social media managers who weren't doing their job and stuff like that. So it sort of started to bug me. And so we started holding small workshops where I was like, hey, let's just all learn about Twitter together. Let's all learn about Canva together. Let's all make sure that we all have the same information at the same time, regardless of your seniority or how much money you have, your company has, things like that. And that really that grew and grew and has just kept growing every year since then. We just finished Social West 2025, and the one you were at had 935 people at it, I think, from all over the world now, and we do that every 3 months in a different city in Canada. So we do, still this year, we still have Halifax and Vancouver, and then we start all over again next year with Ottawa and Toronto and Calgary and Halifax and Vancouver, and adding a new city soon as well. So started humble beginnings, which I think is a great way for lots of businesses to start, because 10 years in, I'm still super happy with it, because every month is different than what I expected it would be.
Yeah, well, I'm ready to go on tour. So you just say the word, and I'm with you the whole way around. So what were you doing before? What was it? What was your job before you started kind of putting those groups together?
Yeah, so my career is sort of all over the place, and I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what the commonality is. But I have a degree in Spanish in education from a small Catholic university in New Brunswick, so that's weird. And then I worked at a bank. I worked at oil and gas. I started a blog back in 2005, early days of blog, which again wasn't a thing where you back then were oh, I'm going to make money from this. It was really just, I like writing, I'm going to write about things. And that sort of started all of this, because it really took off over the years. And it was something I just loved doing. When I moved to Calgary, I didn't know that many people, so I spent a lot of time writing. Writing has always sort of been my thing that I fall back on too. And the blog it became a huge blog in Canada. And I eventually was quite a regular guest on breakfast television in Calgary, and then they asked me to work there as a producer, even though I had no background whatsoever. And that sort of helped me. I did that for like 3.5 years while doing the blog, and then eventually I was like, oh, I think I want to continue seeing where this blog stuff goes. Like, I know where TV goes, I don't know where this goes. I left in 2013 to be like a full-time blogger, and then with that came these workshops and all these other opportunities. So kind of a convoluted journey, but one that sort of I've just been grateful for the entire time.
Yeah, and I think one of the things to talk about when we talk about unfair advantages is your unique experiences, right? Mm-hmm. And I think my background's pretty similar too, where it's like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do
Catholic
that.
University?
Sure. No. Mat leave? Sure, I'll do that. And just fill holes and get experience, right? And so
I think saying yes, like to a degree, so many of the things I just say yes to, and I'm like, cool, I'll figure that out later. Did I know I was recording 2 podcasts today with 2 different people? No, I realized that 10 minutes ago. But I said yes to both of these at some point, and they're happening, and it's going to be great. And I think the cool thing about doing this as long as I have, and I wish I could sort of told myself earlier, was that trusting yourself allows you to open so many more doors and go down so many more paths. Because at this point, I would say, especially the pandemic, when I'm worried about something, my brain will be like, you are an event company that survived the pandemic. You can figure this out. And that has just really changed how I perceive things now.
Yeah, I think the power of yes is really important, but hard, right? Mm-hmm. Not everybody can just blindly do it. I think there's probably a mix of this like self-confidence and then also a bit of like naivety to be like, yeah, I can do that. I can figure that out. That's kind of the way I've approached it. But what do you think gives you the ability to just say yes and know, at least with some degree of confidence that if I don't know how to do it, I'm probably going to figure it out?
I think when someone asks you as well, like I assume they've done their research. I assume they've looked around, they've asked around. And so they're coming to you with an opportunity that, they want you to say yes to. And so you can kind of see, if it's a right fit for you, if it's a direction that you want to go in. Now I would say for the last, maybe the first 5 or 6 years of being an entrepreneur, I was sort of all over the place. I was saying yes to everything that came my way. So hosting, speaking, writing, travel, these events, like all of it. And it was great, but it was a lot. Just different too many hats. And this one was the one that sort of provided the most stability, these events. And so that's sort of what I zeroed in on. But like even the events, like, I honestly, anytime I bring someone, we just have one full-time employee and then we work with a few consultants and stuff. But anytime I think of an event or think of something, it's alarming how little I put into it, how much thought, like book the venue, figure the rest out later. That's sort of how have been doing things, and definitely not a confidence thing. I write a lot about confidence, I think, because I think businesses, and when you're following on LinkedIn, everyone's always talking about success, and then there's always people who are always talking about failure, and I'm like, I know by this point I know you can grow from failure, but like, what if I just like want to run a business and pay my bills and not make a big deal about it and not make it my entire personality, and that's sort of where I think I struggled for so long, because that's where I want to be, and I think that's where I am now. If people think I'm big and huge great, or they think I'm nothing great, I'm sort of doing my own thing and not having to create false illusions about my success has always been my goal. Like in my chat GPT prompt, it says no hyperbole. I'm like, no, I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to exaggerate. And I think that's sort of been helpful. I haven't misled anyone. When I'm talking to sponsors or speakers, like, here's all the data on who's coming. Here's proof of concept. Here's whatever. And so they come, and the relationship is just so much stronger because of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so how did you go? You did the first one, and then how does that turn into, over the years, turning into like a national tour? so to speak?
Yeah, so Calgary started very, very organically, and when it started to do well, year 2 or 3, I was like, okay, let's do this in different cities. Because what was happening was that a lot of platforms and bigger companies, not so many at the beginning, but they started saying, oh, wait, you're doing events outside of Toronto and Vancouver. That's interesting to us because we don't want to create a new event. We just want someone to be doing that. And that's honestly been our sort of sweet spot for the last few years, is like, oh, thanks for doing this. We didn't want to do it. We'll just hitch our wagon to your ride. But I chose Halifax second because I sort of was like, well, this is doing really well in Calgary, which is not a conventional city when people think of marketing. I grew up on the East Coast, and I was like, well, there's no reason the East Coast doesn't deserve something like this as well. At first it was like just wooing people with a trip to Halifax, right? Like it was like, hey, person from Twitter or person from Google or whatever, like if I pay for your flight, will you come speak for 35 minutes? And they're like, yeah, I've always wanted to go to Halifax. Perfect, let's go. Halifax is our second biggest. It's probably 600 now, and it's people from all across Atlantic Canada, and it works because it's affordable, but also bosses don't have to pay for a flight necessarily. The hotels are cheaper, and that sort of got me thinking. And so then I think we added Vancouver was next. It was a complete disaster. We can talk about that if you want. Then Ottawa, then Toronto, then Ottawa. And I was avoiding Toronto and Vancouver because I was like, well, there's a million events like these. In those cities, I don't need to be there. My goal is to serve sort of the underserved marketing communities. And but some sponsors for Toronto were like, we need this in Toronto. We need this in Toronto. And so I created it, and we've had like 500 people come to both of them in Toronto. And it's like, it's something awesome is happening, and I'm trying to make sure I'm paying attention to it, knowing why it's happening, knowing that it's not just like me, there's the community's resonating with something. And I think it's hearing from practitioners, hearing from people, colleagues, hearing, that's what I say to our speakers. Pretend everyone in the room is as smart as you, and then try to wow them. Like, don't belittle them, don't talk down to them. They're just as smart as you, because they are, and try to teach them something new.
So what do you think it is? Like, what do you think the kind of secret sauce is, so to speak, that just resonates with these people that make you want to bring? Because like you said, there's a million conferences, and there's a million marketing conferences, especially in like those bigger cities. And it makes sense of, okay, like the smaller markets, good strategy. We're going in there because it's underserved. But when you get to those big ones, like, what do you think it is that's making them, like, the demand? It's driving demand. You didn't search it out.
No, I really didn't. And I think there's some naivety. I don't know how to say that word. I think that helps a lot. So I'm really like, I find a venue and I do my own thing. I remember our first Vancouver event, while it was like a financial disaster. I remember someone saying afterwards, like, this was the least pretentious Vancouver event I've ever been to. And I was like, oh, it's probably because I don't know anyone here, and I'm not inviting certain people. I'm just like, hey, yeah. I've heard that about Vancouver. Everyone says that about lots of different cities, but like, I didn't know who was the person to invite, who was the group to invite, who was the tastemakers, whatever you want to call them. I just invited people who were on my radar, people who are on their radars, and sort of built it from that. And I really think when I'm talking to sponsors or attendees, like 95% of events are really just sales funnels. So they're things that are, meant to get you to use their product, or, think that they're, the top software to work with or whatever. I don't have anything to sell. So I'm not doing anything necessarily with our attendees where they're getting hammered with ads the entire event. That's something I say to all of our speakers and all of our sponsors. And sponsors is trickier, when they're speaking, because they do have a different goal than a traditional speaker. And so you have to really work with them and say, like, you really don't want this to be an ad. Like, it's not going to go the way you think it's going to go.
Yeah,
there's no one, and like, I think our attendees will come. We had a sponsor in Social West this year that was doing a lot, and it was all great. But it was like very like they had a speaker, and we're like, hey, come to our booth, stuff like that. And I was like, I get why you're doing that. Our attendees will just come. Like they're here to learn. You have something they want to learn from. They will just swing by your booth. They will chat with you. And so I think focusing on the education part is the biggest thing. That's the most positive feedback I get, is like how much people learn. And then, and I'd rather our speakers overwhelm our attendees with information than feeling like they committed 2 or 3 days and learned one thing, kind of thing. So it's not always perfect, but like that's where my goal is to every session to be about teaching you something, and then we just get better and better. So like when I'm talking to a big sponsor who might, I can sort of sense that they'll be giving an ad, I'll like send them the feedback from a similar but this is what happened last time these guys did it. I wouldn't do that if I were you, kind of thing. So, just being honest, I think being a really small team helps. So like I have a relationship with each of our speakers and sponsors and really attendees. Like I look at every person that buys a ticket, see, check out what they are. So, cause I'm the one building the schedule. So I want to make sure that we're serving the people who are buying the tickets.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because you kind of sit in the middle and you have two different customers, right? You've got the people who buy the tickets and show up. You've got to deliver them a product. And then you have the sponsors who are also a client who you have to make happy and drive leads for and make it productive for them. How do you balance those two things? And does that ever conflict, or do you have it like, nope, this is just kind of how I've got it figured out?
There's always going to be some friction between a business and a customer. So I think for me, and it is like it's not that I'm like everything stops with me, but like I tend to be way more sales oriented than I ever thought I would be. I've learned so much about sales, and AI has helped me a ton in terms of speaking a language that sponsor will want to hear. We all call different demographics, different things, and different goals and stuff like that. So I can say to AI like, hey, this company reached out, these are their goals, how does that align with our goals? If it doesn't, great. If it does, awesome, even better. So I think honestly giving everyone as much information as I can. One of the things, it's so small and I really don't see anyone else doing it. Our event always has the topics that people will learn. You'll see so many events now that I've told you. You'll look at conferences and you'll just see it's all about the speakers and the logos, but you're like, but what am I learning? And so like when we reach out with speakers, we're like, what's your topic? What's your description? What are 3 takeaways? What are hashtags? Like we try to get as much information from you as possible to give to our attendees so they can make the decision they want to, whether to attend and what session to attend, if it's during breakouts. And I just do that with the sponsors as well. So something happened in the last 12 months where I'm reaching out way less than I ever was. We're getting big American companies reaching out and things like that. And that's almost a newer fun challenge because they're used to these, they're used to a sales team and all these things. And I'm like, no, it's just me and Shanice. We got it. Lindsay's going to take care of you when you get there. Like I'm sometimes like, they'll say like, I can't believe you don't have more people working on this. And I'm like, I can't believe that many people work on it. Like when I see maybe like a government conference and I know that 100 people worked on it, maybe I'm like, what did you do the whole time? Like what, like once a year? Like I was at a conference recently and they're like, we do this once a year. And I was like, this is your full-time job and you do it once a year. I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. Like I'm doing this 6 times a year, but I still really love it. So, I honestly, it's, sales and events is all about like only 10 tickets left, only 20 tickets left, like hurry, tickets are selling quickly. Like if I ever post that, you can ask me for the numbers and I am telling you within like 5% of the truth. Like if I'm saying we're 75% sold out, we really are. I'm not using that because if I say we're almost sold out and you walk into a room, there's 50 people there, I've already lost your trust. You're never coming back. The sponsors are mad. The speakers are mad. And so, like, I didn't go to business school. But sometimes I think maybe that the lessons that are being taught there aren't applicable to how smart people are now. Maybe that's the internet, maybe it's AI, whatever. But like traditional sales tactics is not something I'm super interested in. I just like presenting the facts, and if people want to participate, then great. How I have to get better at it is using stronger language, being more confident, like we talked about at the beginning. I would definitely be the person that was causing the most harm in terms of downplaying our success, because I just maybe I'm too humble or too scared of not being humble, that I was definitely the one painting myself into a corner. But even with sponsors, I'm like, cool, 2 or 3 meetings, here's all the information. Oh, we're not sure, great, why don't you just come and check it out? Like, I've told you everything. Talk to people, hear reference, whatever, but like, I'd rather you wait a whole year and you come check us out than you commit to something, because I want you to come back. My job is easier if you come back. So having just that relationship is so important. It's great.
Yeah, I want to pull on a thread there. You've talked about confidence a few times, and I mean, I don't know you super well, but all of my experiences with you, you come off as a confident person. You come off as somebody who like knows what you have, knows what you're doing, and like run it. And that's a big value in what you're doing, because as the face of something like this, I think a lot of that revolves kind of around you. But what you just said was you're more concerned about like people thinking you're something. So is it less about like internally, you know, that you like you're confident inside, you just don't want people to think you're an asshole?
Yes. No. I think the string you're pulling on is called childhood trauma, and it's being bald in high school. This is fake hair for people watching this, and being, I think there's certain things in life. I joke, a short, bald, gay, gluten free. Like, there's lots of little barriers. Nothing regular people, people in tougher situations don't go through worse. But like little barriers that sort of maybe impacted how I thought the public perceived me. Definitely with the blog being as successful as it was, there was this this assumption, influencers are assholes, bloggers are arrogant, da 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 da, like. And I was always like, but I'm not. I'm just writing, and it turned into this. Like, I didn't start it, like, and like when I would work with hotels, I would say, put me in the hotel that I can afford, hotel room I can afford, not your nicest suite, because my people are going to see this and be like, well, that's lucky. You get to stay there. I can't stay there. And so I don't know necessarily what that is, but I think if I had to put a sales hat on it, it was like I always wanted to be available to as many people as possible. I didn't want anyone to feel like they couldn't work with me at a certain level. So I definitely, I remember peak blog days, like Calgary Reddit, God bless it. It's, if you could make your way through that channel, you got thick skin. There'd be pages like, who is this Mike Morrison guy? He seems like such a dick. And it would be like people who are like, I saw him and he looked miserable. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm like literally just like, I'm at a coffee shop and you're like judging my face? Like, that's crazy, and I generally know I'm not a rude person. I'm that guy. The meal's terrible. Here's 25%. Thanks for everything. Bye. So like the confidence is something that comes up a lot, because I think there's a perception that I'm more confident than I am, but I'd rather work to be confident than just waking up every day and being like, I got this. I'm a super successful business owner. Like, that stresses me out way more than trying to convince myself. So it's a work in progress for sure. I just think people would think that I'm more confident than I am, but it's like, because the thing I wrote about it on LinkedIn, I just don't always see it. Like, I don't see, when I ask someone to speak and they start crying, or someone's like, I've been trying to come to this for 5 years and I finally saved up enough money, and I'm like, oh my God, you could have just asked me. Like, people take it so seriously, and it's almost like I don't take it as seriously as them. And so I don't always see what these events or what these opportunities mean to people. And again, I almost don't want to, because I just to me, I'm still just doing the same thing. My partner will say sometimes, like, "Do you love your job? Like, are you so happy?" And I was like, I think it's really great. I was like, I don't find it particularly hard, and I get to travel, and I get to create moments for people. Then he's like, the fact that you don't think it's hard is crazy. And I'm like, well, I think it's like just like it's just filling in spots. It's filling in. It's like, but so it feels easy to me in a way. So I think I don't know. I'm sort of meandering a bit, but I think being really appreciative of like seeing how this has grown over the last 10 years, seeing, I mean, even having 3 American sponsors join us this year, like those are sort of the check marks of success for me. Is like, wow, these guys could be anywhere with their US dollars. They could be doing a million things, and like somehow I had the data and I said the right thing and I said that they came. Like, it's very much like dating, I guess, but it's been super fun. So that's really all I look for. Is like, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you might as well be having fun with it, because it's really, really hard, and you never get a vacation, and you don't get a lot of things. And so if you're not happy with it, then it's not going to be for you.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple things around that feeling of it's not that hard. It comes to me easy, whatever. Like, that's part of having an unfair advantage. That's part of, when I went and went to speak, people were like, oh my God, I would never be able to get up and talk in front of a room full of people. And my fear was that there was going to be nobody in the room, and that nobody would come, and everyone would go to the other session. And so I was like, as soon as people showed up, I was like, okay, good, thank God. Because that's what I was afraid of, because the rest of it, that's easy to me. I don't know why, right? That's just kind of, I'm close to it. So it's like it demystifies it, I guess. But I think part of that is like, you're just so close to it that to you, it's a completely different thing. These events, the conferences, all these things, like, it is just your thing that you're putting on, and everybody else has a completely different lens for it.
Yeah, and it's really just sort of being the conduit. So making sure that everyone feels comfortable, making sure everyone feels like I gave them as much information, and even like I could stand up. I'm not nervous about Social West. Like, I'm excited, but like, hey, Mike, can you stand up in front of these 900 people and say this thing? Yeah, I'll go. And I don't even think about it. Hey, Mike, I don't know you. Can I have a coffee with you? Oh my God, I have to. No, I never. Like, I could never, like, that's so hard for me to sit down with like one person, because maybe it's because I'm not in control, or I don't know what they want to talk about, or whatever. But definitely when I lived in Calgary, like, I would get those calls and meetings quite a bit, and it was all great. But like, I'm more comfortable on a stage where it's sort of like anonymous faces, and even just with the crowd size. Like, I often think, I tell speakers who might be nervous or might have more of a niche topic, I'm like, just so you know, like, I don't care if there's 20 people in your room or 400. It actually doesn't. I'm not looking at those metrics. If I see 20 people in your room, that means those 20 people had a choice of 3 sessions and they got something that they wanted. I'm super happy with that. Where sometimes because I have to sort of guess too, right? I have to be like, I think this will be the most popular of the 3, so this has to go in the biggest, or, and I sometimes get it wrong. I got it wrong a few times in Social West, where I went to like a smaller room and it was like, I think yours was packed, right? And a few different ones were just full. And I'm like, oh shoot, okay. So I'm always learning from the audience, and having those experiences. Like, I think also doing this 6 times a year, like we did it in Toronto this year, second year there, it was good. It was a bit sloppier. I think maybe I got a little tired, and so we took all those notes and we're able to apply them 6 weeks later in Calgary. And I think that's definitely an advantage too, is that we don't have to wait a whole year to fix something that was wrong or something I didn't like.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to talk about Vancouver. You've mentioned it a couple times, the first time you went to Vancouver being a disaster. And I like talking about disasters sometimes.
Yeah.
So this is where we can like learn stuff, right? This is where, this whole process of me interviewing people about unusual, work gets interesting. So walk me through like the first one in Vancouver. What were you expecting to happen? What actually happened? And then, what did you learn from it?
Yeah, so I think after being in Calgary and Halifax, which are not traditional cities for marketing conferences, I was like, okay, we did that. Now going to a bigger city. That'll be easy. I think I underestimated. So like I basically just booked the same type of venue as Calgary, sort of expecting the momentum would be there. Sort of thinking maybe our reputation was bigger than it actually was, and things like that. And I mean, we still sold like 200, maybe 50 or 75, 275 tickets maybe. But like one thing, which is, please, no one starting a business, listen to this. I rarely have budgets. It's not good. I finally hired a fractional CFO. I have great accountants. So we're all getting that under control. But like, so much of my budgets is like vibes. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I'm getting $5,000 from them, and they bought. I think it's probably all fine. And then like 2 weeks
Vibe
before the
budgeting.
sorry, what?
I said vibe budgeting. That
By
is
budgeting, not good. Don't do that. Bad advice there. And it was like 2 weeks before where like my partner, again, he's like my partner in life, but looks at things for me sometimes. He was like, "Hey, you're in big trouble with Vancouver, eh?" And I was like, "What? No." And I was like down like $100,000. And I was like, "Oh shit." So I did what I could, but I think in the end we lost like 80,000. And that, for a small business of two people, like wiped us out. So I didn't pay myself for almost a year. I had to really think about if it was something that I wanted to keep doing, because that would be a good time to leave. Like, oh, I really effed that up. Now I'm not paying myself. That's not great. And my partner is also an entrepreneur, so we often have this pressure on us that like one of us has to be doing good at all times, or we're screwed. We can't both be down. And so that was really, really hard, and that knocked me out for a long time, just mentally, because I thought I knew this business. I thought I had figured it out. I thought I'd figured out this formula. But what it did, it really changed everything. And it's so cheesy that like I learned from my biggest mistake. But like, if you look at the trajectory of our company, everything changed after that, because I started taking it way more seriously. I was like, well, I need to pay off this debt now, and I need to pay myself. I'm the only one that's going to do that. There isn't going to be a magical thing. So like we had to focus in on Social West and Social East, the ones that are profitable. Because the first year event is never profitable, which is something I didn't know. First or second year even, like events are really expensive, especially the way we do them, where everybody is paid. Most events don't pay speakers. We pay every single speaker. We pay everyone involved, all that sort of stuff. And so, a Social West costs $350,000 before I make a penny, and I also have to pay people and stuff like that. So, it's a lot to come back from when you've lost it all. But I believed in what we were doing still, so I didn't give up. And I'm a person, like, I don't give up easily, but like I also know when to call it. Like I'm just like, okay, I'm done. And I still haven't felt that way about this. Like I believe in it so much that we just changed everything. We got organized, and we were gonna skip Vancouver. I think it was 18 months between the two events, and I was like, I can't do it again. It's too risky. But like so much had changed in those 18 months that when we did it again, we switched. It was 2 days, multiple rooms, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, let's just start the way we should have started, which is one room, one day, grow this organically like we did the other events. And so that's what we did last November, and it was double the attendance. We had to book a second room across the street because the momentum was so crazy. That like even now we're planning Social Pacific, and I'm like, oh, I booked the same rooms. I'm like, I think I screwed up again, right? Like I'm so cautious now that sometimes I think I make it harder for the people I work with, because I'm just like, they're like, you're gonna be fine. I'm like, no, I don't want to think that for a second. And so like it doubled in a year, and the interest just changed, and I think there's so much I learned from that. But it was also the hardest period of my life. Like I never, ever want to go through that again. And so even we have lots of people interested in Montreal. SocialNext Montreal. And in Ottawa, when we did it there this year, like 3 or 4 sponsors brought it up. They're like, go to Montreal. And I had had a little team meeting, and I was like, listen, going to Montreal, like, you all get paid regardless. I only get paid if this works. So if you're all willing to commit at these levels of sponsorship, then great, I'll do it. That putting it on is not the hard part. It's not losing all your money. And that's why, I mean, it's also hard. There aren't a lot of people doing what I'm doing. And I don't mean that as like, wow, I'm the best. It's just really, 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 really hard to make money from events. And it is more about relationships than anything else. And I can't believe how someone I met 16 years ago at one job is coming into play in my career, in 2025, because they now work at this company or whatever. Like, I love that about life, like that I have these relationships and it's turned on to all of this stuff. So, So that was it for me, was just I wasn't too arrogant. I thought it was too easy, because it felt easy, because Calgary was easy, it grew so organically, and I had built an audience there. And I think also what I did with Vancouver was start turning down the mic of it all. So like in Calgary, I started noticing 3 or 4 years ago that lots of people coming didn't even know who I was. So they started as like a Mike Morrison's going to teach you about marketing, or like Mike Morrison's event. And that obviously doesn't play across the country, nor should it. That would be weird. But also, like, it's hard for companies to get involved. It's hard for people to get involved when they think they're going to like a one-man show. And so I think with that, I started downplaying my involvement. So like even at the conferences now, I'll say good morning and I'll say good night, and that's it. Everything, and I'm in the lobby if you have questions. And so it's the worst thing that ever happened to me. But honestly, as cheesy it is, it's the best thing, because we're here now because I screwed up so much with that one.
Yeah, one of the things that the strategy of everything talks about, one of the tools is all about like risk assessment, like identifying risks and things like that, so that you minimize the chances of that happening. Is there anything that you think you could have done beforehand if you really like stopped and thought it through? Or is there something that you wish you had have been like, hey, I wish I had have like done that first? Maybe that would have avoided the problem.
Yeah, I mean, a budget would have been great. I also price things as affordable as I can, and so like I think the first ticket to Vancouver was like $199, and that was a thing that sort of we noticed for years. Now that I'm saying it, it reminds me of what changed over those 18 months. Was like I was pricing these too affordable, so people didn't think they were real. People are like, why is my hotel room more expensive than the conference? People are so used to conferences being $2,000 that I'm just like, I don't know what I would do with that much money. Like I've always built these conferences as like how much I would pay for something, and I have maybe paid for 5 conferences in my life, kind of thing. So like, it's if I'm going to invest in something with my own dollars, it needs to be really solid, and that's always been my lens. So I would have done a one day. I would have brought in like the top tier, top speakers I could think of. And that's how we've done Ottawa. Toronto was now like one day, and Ottawa's creeping into 2 days now. Halifax is creeping into 2.5 days. Calgary's 2.5 days. So like, as opposed to starting in a city like a big splash, just grow organically. Because the other thing that's happening is like, if you come to Social Pacific in Vancouver, you don't care about all our other events. You're just at this one. So I need to make that one super, super special. It's never like, oh, this one's great, but you should really check out Calgary. Like each one is as special as it can be, because that's what that experience is. And even in the bigger cities, the biggest difference, I don't know why I'm saying this, but like is in Vancouver and Toronto, we have very few hotel bookings. Everyone is coming from those cities. So I want those to sort of stay one day, because I think if I get you in one day, it'll be really hard to get you in 2 days in the city that you're in. that you live in. But if you're flying in, you're in the hotel, then it's easier. So that's why Halifax and Calgary are 2 days, because you've generally flown in or you've traveled in. We fill hotels in those cities. And Toronto, I don't think we booked a single room this year besides us. So it's treating each city differently, and that's something I definitely learned from that too. But just like, it was so different than any way I'd done anything else. Which is always to start very, very small, maybe too small, some might say, but that's what's worked for me, and I should have stuck with that.
Yeah, that's great. Is it different or harder or, whatever, trying to book speakers in different cities? Are you looking for like more local people in each one, or is it like trying to figure out what that audience wants, or like, can I convince you to go, this other person to fly somewhere? Like, how does that change?
There aren't hard and fast rules. I'm going to use vibes again, but there is a mix. So I remember when we first did Social East in Halifax, I don't think we had a single local speaker, and I remember someone saying like, I wish there was more local people here. And I was like, but you can literally just talk to them anytime you want. Like, I was trying to bring you people that you don't get to have a conversation with all the time. But over the years, it's not a specific number, but I try to make sure there's local representation. I try to make sure there's national representation. But the other thing that's happening now is we are getting more and more sponsors. And so with with certain sponsorships, they eat up some of the speaker spots. So I have to make sure that the attendees are still getting value from those spots, not straight commercials, but also I have to make sure that not every session is just there because they're sponsored. And so I don't do a call for speakers. We get lots and lots of emails, which is so great. We don't hire professional speakers for the most part. So people who basically only do that, we don't necessarily hire them. We like to think that people are creating somewhat of a custom presentation for who's in the room specifically. So we focus a lot on practitioners. Very rarely do we have like presidents of companies. Like, we're looking for the people who are doing the work. I say as a president of a company. And we also we do webinars every Wednesday. So sometimes it's like, hey, I don't really know this person. I'll ask my team to be like, ask them if they want to do a webinar, and then I get feedback like, hey, they were so great. They'd be a great speaker. Because, the speaker world, the conference world, everyone's just trained to do sales pitches, right? They think you go up on stage and you act like you're the best person. You act, da-da-da. I don't care. I wrote about this on LinkedIn recently. Like, after Social West, the speakers were writing their recaps. And like, how many of them said that was my first time speaking? And I was like, oh, cool, that's great. Like, I don't know that. I don't ask that question. Like, can you do this? Do you want to do it in front of 800 people? Are you going to be embarrassed? Are you going to embarrass me? Those are sort of the real questions I ask. Like, I don't want a super polished, like every presentation the exact same. Like, I dabbled in speaking for a little bit, but it was too formal for me. Like, I go up with my notes and I like throw my paper and I make jokes and I lose track, and like, I'm a better host than I am a speaker. But I want our speakers to be different. And with Social West, we started experimenting with different types of presentations. So we had a whole separate room this time with presentations on photography and fashion and food and things like that. And I want to keep experimenting with that. So, and the other thing, like recently, I had a speaker reach out to me on LinkedIn. It was literally just all his accomplishments. And I was like, hey, like, you seem cool. I'm interested. I was like, that type of pitch, while I understand why you're doing it, like, does nothing for us. Like, I'm asking you what you are going to teach our people in 25 minutes. And all that experience probably means something, and like, he didn't write back. So like, it's, wow. There can't be an ego about coming. There can't be an ego about, maybe you've spoken twice in a row, but you're probably like, I have other speakers. I'm juggling all of those things, juggling expectations, juggling relationships, and saying like, hey, just so you know, like, I still love you. You've just spoken at this event 2 or 3 times. I need to find other people. Do you want to come to this event? I'm not paying for your flight, but I'll pay for you. I'll still give you your money, kind of thing, right? And so then it becomes a little people sort of self investing in themselves. So if someone in Calgary sees the value of speaking in Halifax, like we still pay them the same amount, and then they can come, and I'll try to make those efforts. So it's case by case basis, and then I grew up loving TV, loving the industry, and sometimes I feel like I'm like programming, and the president of NBC, and I'm like programming the schedule and canceling shows and adding new shows and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the fun factors for me as well.
Yeah, I organized and hosted 2 TEDx shows when I worked for Intuit, and I saw it kind of the same way. I felt like I was like putting together a production. I was putting together like this vision, and picking the speakers, and for that kind of event, like you work with the speakers to like craft their story, and they have to, kind of fit. And so one of the things I really liked was like, how do we put the different, who talks when, and then what, and then how does this person, and then when do we have a break, and then when do we put these people on? How much, considering you don't know everybody and everything they're going to speak about, like you and I talked once before the event, so you kind of had an idea, but how much are you thinking about that when you're kind of like orchestrating it, or is it all just kind of like practical?
No,
this
I mean,
guy's
that's
super popular, so he's going to crush everybody. We'll put him in the big room, and then
no,
whatever.
I mean, it's fun. It's probably my favorite part of this because it's so hard to get it right. And I'm not saying I ever have gotten it right, but I mean, I try so hard. But like, I remember an employee before the pandemic, Emma, and she's so great. And she's like, hey, can I try building a schedule? And I was like, yeah, go ahead. And I was like, but I'm not going to tell you any of the parameters or conditions or exceptions. Just build it what you think. And I was like, cool. She did it, and then I was like, cool, all of it is wrong. And I was like, and here's why, kind of thing. So, so there's so many factors. There's lunch. After lunch is a killer. So you have to think about how you're going to get people back. You're going to have to think about their energy levels. The afternoon is always about keeping their energy up. And so what I've started doing more and more is putting draws. So like I just built Socially schedule this morning. And I think I have TikTok right after lunch because that's always a draw. And so that'll get people coming back. So, but if it was just like a regular, like, hey, I'm going to teach you some SEO, I don't think I would get you back in time. So we always do like a big prize giveaway at the big after lunch that involves, we do heads or tails, involves people getting up, waking up, energy, stuff like that. Then you have to make sure that sponsors aren't speaking at the same time. I pay attention to making sure that it's not 3 men speaking at the same time or 3 women speaking at the same time. You have to look at topics. So if this person is interested in this, is it conflicting with one that type of person will also go to? And I do use AI a bit for that more and more. So I'll sort of say like, hey, these are our topics. These are our attendees. Like, what's the path for this person kind of thing to help me see conflicts I might not see. Like Social West this year, my friend was like, you had all 3 PR sessions at the same time. I was like, oh, I didn't notice that. But that's like, the title might not be super clear or whatever, or like everyone has different definition of PR, things like that. So there's all these pieces. The one I remember, one of the first Social West though, we paid for this keynote speaker to come, and it was 2 theaters. And I asked this other speaker, I was like, hey, do you mind, you're going to go up against the keynote, but like, I know you won't be mad. So like, please just like go with me on this, and I'll make it up to you at another event or something like that. She's like, yeah, no problem. I had to force people to leave her session to go to the keynote. I was like standing at the door, and if I knew them, I was like, go downstairs, because so many people were watching that session. Then they were watching the keynote. So like I tell speakers, like, I don't worry that you're up against a Google or whatever. Like your audience will find you, and they will come. So there's so many pieces to it, like, and closing strong, right? So I used to just end the event with like 3 sessions in 3 different rooms. That really just peters out. People just leave. So now we have closing keynotes, but I have to think of a speaker who's going to be like high energy, who's going to leave them with something to think about. If I think I also, sometimes I feel like I know what's going to be a weaker presentation or something, so I have to think about where I can plant that, where it doesn't create this big anchor of negativity on our event. I have been known to like put like 2 or 3 of the ones that I'm the most worried about at the same time. So we just get them out of the way, and then it's not like 3 hours of someone accidentally seeing 3 shitty presentations. So there's a lot that goes into it, and I think it's so fun. But it's all about the attendees. I mean, you can say customers, but it honestly is like that's I think one of the things that really separates us from events. And like I don't even consider other events like competition. Like we're doing such different things with such different goals. But I remember talking to a guy who sold his events, and he came to ours and he's like, oh, you focus on the attendees. We only focus on the speakers. And I was like, well, I'd like to think I do a little bit of both. But yeah, no, the speakers are being paid. So in my eyes, for one day, they're my employee or whatever. So I'm not as worried as I am about that attendee, because from a marketing perspective, budget perspective, if I can put on a really good event and you like it, it's easier to sell to you next year, which means it's cheaper to sell to you next year, which means you come back and stuff like that. So all of that comes into play. And there's something about me. I mean, I started taking Ritalin yesterday, so we'll see. But all of that, it just pings. Like talking to you, I don't know. I'm like sitting up. Like I love talking about that stuff, and I love looking at schedules and trying to figure out what's the best solution for so many different types of people.
Yeah, it feels like that's the creativity part for you. That's the part that you really like to do. That's the part that, and that's fun. And that comes across, I think, in the whole, I think that is kind of the core of it. And then it resonates out the rest of it. Like you add in the organic, you add in the community base, but I think that energy that you just talked about, like that's the part where probably a lot of other conferences, a lot of other events are just don't put that much time, effort, or heart into who's talking when and why, and don't think that deeply about it.
Yeah. And I think too, I mean, speakers are salesmen too, right? So they might get a sales pitch and be like, oh, that's cool. But like I get so many, and I have a filter. It's almost at Breakfast Television when I worked there, we had like a person in mind, an audience member in mind, and every segment was based on whether that person would stop their busy morning and watch this segment. That's sort of what I'm doing with our event, but it's a bit broader in terms of like, I just want people to be happy so they'll come back and feel like they got their money's worth. So that's a huge factor for me. My dog's going to jump up here. Sorry. Yeah, that's a huge factor for me.
Are there any speakers that you have on like your wish list, your dream list that you hope to kind of land one day to come?
I mean, it's funny because like we sell so many, like Social West had Neil Patel this year. That was incredible. His team reached out to me. I didn't pay a penny for that, which was unreal. And he did such a good job. And how I know that is he spoke first, and then there was 50 presentations after him, and he was still ranked as one of our top speakers. So like people still remembered him at the end of the conference when we send out that exit survey. And so but like we had already sold 500 or 600 tickets before we announced him. And so we have sort of been really lucky that we don't need a big speaker to be present for our events to be successful. And I think that's huge. We also don't have government grants or anything like that. It's every penny is like relationship based, whether attendee or a sponsor. So, I mean, there's people say, but like, I'm never going to pay $50, $60, $70, $80,000 for a speaker. I just will never see that value in it. And I get those emails from speaker agencies, and they'll be like, hey, so we have these people. And I'm like, cool, that person's 25 grand. Do you think they'll sell 25 grand worth of tickets? And usually the conversation ends there. I honestly don't. I think for me, it means a lot when like, I've never had Canva. So I emailed them yesterday, again, for the 40th time, I think. And I just said, hey, here's all the data. I have 6 events next year. Will you please come to one? I have a lot of luck. Once I get you in the door, I feel very fortunate that usually I can keep you involved somehow. So I think when a brand that maybe said no, or a brand that came, doesn't answer, and then all of a sudden they're answering, like that sort of stuff I like more than chasing a big speaker. And like, there's nothing wrong with those speakers, but that just, if I paid, I mean, some of these people that you're probably asking me to say their names are 75 or 100 grand, and that's good for them if they can get that. Like, awesome. I will not, that's not a good investment for me. And that has not been a draw for our attendees. So, but people like Arlene Dickinson and Terry O'Reilly, I use them a lot at our different cities. And that's the fun thing is like, yeah, Arlene spoke last year in Calgary, but no one at Calgary will be at Halifax this year. And Terry spoke at Halifax last year and will be in Vancouver this year. None of those. So it's brand new experience for them each time. But I have seen the bump in sales when I announce those people because they're experts, they're Canadian, their fees aren't insane, they're respectable prices, and I sell that amount of tickets based on them being there. So that's, I think, people think they need a big speaker, and I used to chase them all the time, but now it's not worth it to me at this point. Offline, I'll tell you who's 100 grand.
Yeah, no, I've seen a few because when I was booking the TEDx event, I would always kind of like try to get a closer, like somebody who would be like, if not a name, but somebody like more interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because most of our speakers were employees, like it was an internal kind of thing, and some of the people I reached out to thinking like they might just be happy to go to get some pictures on the TEDx stage. Were like crazy.
Yeah.
And I immediately got a view into your world and was like, no.
I think there's a lot of misconceptions in the speaker world. Like, I think people think there's more money than there is. So like, even if you sign with a speaker agency, their goal will always be to sell the Chris Hadfields, right? You will be the last person they try to sell because you're probably 5 or 10 grand. They don't get a commission out of that. But when a TEDx emails them, they're like, oh my God, this is my chance to be a professional speaker. Where I think my philosophy, when a few of our people have sort of switched to like, Josh Council from Good Robot is an incredible speaker in Halifax. And I was the first person to ever pay him to speak. And now he essentially does it pretty close to full time, because he's so I love feeling like I discovered him in a way, like, and that I gave him that opportunity to shine. And I think he will have longevity, because he's not charging as much as the big guys, but he's proving his worth. And so, if someone wanted to pay a speaker, 5 to 10 grand every month for a year, that's not bad. If you can secure a spot, but if you're charging 100 grand, that really limits who's going to be able to work with you. Like in very few events in Canada, I don't know. I just don't know if there's draws in a way. So I'd rather have the practitioners. I love when someone's like pleasantly surprised. I love seeing a speaker and being like, oh my God, that guy is going to change our events. We're going to bring them to every event for the next year kind of thing. Like, I love all that stuff because I think there's a bit of an underdog feeling to it all. There's a bit of a like experimenting with new people. Like, if I like your email, like I said earlier, if I like your email and I can check you out, if there's a connection we have that I can sort of just be like, hey, is this guy legit? Is this guy good? I don't even do that much, but like if you sort of check out a nice email and you get what we're doing, then you're probably going to get something from us the first time at least, just because you emailed me like once and I was like, okay, because I know your work at Everbrave.
You're the first person to pay me to speak as well. So hopefully.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's awesome.
On the similar path. And because I loved it. And I think it's like a great experience. It's good for what I'm doing as well. But what I liked about it is like, I didn't feel like this is just some random guy we're throwing up here. Like it felt like, oh, like we actually want you to be here. So
No,
I
yeah, and like
appreciate
I mean,
that.
I know your work. I hadn't met you. I'm friends with some of the people you work with, and that's honestly enough for me. I can't remember, but maybe I asked one of them. Be like, hey, is this guy good on stage, or is he gonna get super nervous? Like, where is he? Somewhere in between, kind of thing. So, and I think there's little touches like we send you your photos of speaking basically as soon as you get off the stage. All speakers want nice photos of them, all professionals. And I don't want you to post a shitty cell phone photo about speaking at Social West. So like one of our things is like, here's your photo. Don't post shitty photos. Thanks for coming. And then we send reviews and stuff like that later. But making it an experience. The other thing I'll say quickly is like when we email people to speak, in that first email, I say how much money there is. So there's no negotiating. And it's like, hey, we pay this much. Does that work for you? Great. Yes. Awesome. No. Cool. We'll see you later kind of thing. And so I think it's respecting the speakers as well, respecting their time. And I would love to pay all of our speakers way more. But if I raise it for one, I have to raise it for 40 or 50 speakers. All of a sudden, the budget doesn't make sense anymore. So, but from the start, we've paid every single speaker. And that has been what really separates us. And I think having someone...
Yeah, that's totally different.
Yeah, and it's just your energy.
Any expectations at all. I just was excited to get the opportunity, and I was like, cool, some money on the side.
But a paid person will do much better work than a volunteer person, right? You're going to put weight, just psychologically, you're going to put more work into it than, because I'm not taking advantage of you anymore. I'm paying you for your expertise. Not as much as you deserve, of course, but something to say, hey, I respect what you're doing. So, I mean, that's when I talk to other events starting out, that's you, like book the venue, email speakers, tell them how much you're going to pay them right from the start, and get as much information from them as possible. Like that's the stuff that will make your event successful.
Yeah, I mean, that totally worked because I felt like, I had to deliver something, right? Like I was like, not that I would have done it and just winged it anyway, because I honestly, genuinely was like, oh, this is a great opportunity for me to get out there and talk and share some of these ideas, which is what I was really interested in. But then on top of that, I was like, oh shit, okay, cool. Now, like, I really have to like deliver. And my goal was like, what can I deliver for you guys? And you may not even know this. Maybe if you go into your Google Analytics, you'll see there's some clicks to links that I had put in like custom, like tracking URLs. Because when I was putting out the thing, did I sell one ticket? Did anybody click on anything that I ever posted about it and come and buy a ticket? So take a look. Maybe there's something hidden in your
Did you see? Did you track that all? Like,
I haven't gone back to look, to be honest.
Okay.
I just think it was like, it was one of those things where just as a marketer, I was just kind of like, I wonder if anybody's going to buy a ticket.
And that's another thing too. Like, so we give you, as soon as we say, yes, you're speaking, here's your image, like here's a share image. And even just like, I don't want to give away all our secrets in the sense that people will think, oh, everything's so strategic. But everything, I would say everything I do is very strategic without hopefully. So like, in my email, I say, you do not have to post this, but if you wanted to, right? So like I'm giving you power to say if you want to post about it or not. It's not something we do, but 95% of the people end up posting it. And like your likes, your comments on these, all the speakers get way more likes and comments than I do. Like I'll be like, hey guys, here's our speakers. And we'll get like 20 likes. And then someone will be like, hey, I'm speaking, and it'll get like 4. And the comments are like, I'm so proud of you. You're going to do so good. You're going to do like, I love reading that. I'm sure they love reading that. You said the word opportunity is such a, general word, but like, I'm going to think about that because it's an opportunity. I think if a speaker sees the opportunity, so whether to help their industry or help the people in the room or, grow their professional skills, like, that's what I think I'm offering is a few different types of opportunities. So it's such a boring word, but it just when you said it, I was like, I like it.
No, but it really was. And the way I looked at it was like the opportunity I was looking for was number one to get exposure to people in Calgary. I'm not from Calgary either. I've only been here a couple of years. So kind of build that kind of personal brand. But number two was like get ideas out there and share this idea. and see what then comes back. And what the best part for me was the feedback that you guys deliver later of like, here's what people said. I was like, oh shit, cool. Like, you know, it's not a million people all jumping to talk, but you got like this list of people giving you the feedback that you were like, oh, okay, cool. They got it, you know, and people coming up right after or at the party after and being like, hey, like I saw that thing and I was thinking about this and you made me think about this differently. I had a guy come and be like, I thought our whole unique value proposition for our company was this, and then now I don't know what it is anymore, and I think it's something completely different.
Yeah.
And I was like, that alone was like worth the whole thing, because I like I said, I just wanted to share ideas.
And that's, I mean, I think that's all people want. So like, and I think this was sort of the accidental theme of Social West this year, but it came up a lot, was like with AI, you know, it's funny, some of the feedback was like, there's too much AI. And I'm like, I don't know how you would do a marketing presentation without at least acknowledging AI right now.
Saying it.
But also with the rise of AI, the importance of human conversation and human sitting in the same room is going to become more and more important. So in a way, I was like, oh, okay, the downfall of society and water might benefit me. But like it might give our events a different purpose, because that will soon be the only thing that you can believe is what you're watching on the stage or whose hand you're shaking, and things like that. And so I think we're in a really good spot for that. And I think just creating an environment where everyone feels welcome. The secret, and most of the speakers know this, is I've never watched a presentation of the probably 500 we've done. I like pop my head in and like sort of get a quick vibe check, but I'm sort of like a proud parent in a way. So like if I had a kid and they played hockey, I probably wouldn't watch, because I'd be like, it's too stressful. I hope they do good. I'm so nervous for you. I'm so excited for you. I'm nervous for our attendees. I can't watch. And so I'll pop in. I have moles. I have friends in each room who are texting me comments, you know, this is too cold, this is too hot, this guy's boring, this guy's great. Like, I'm getting the feedback. But it's sort of this funny thing where my friend owns all the McDonald's in Southern Alberta and he's never had a Big Mac. It's the same sort of
That's awesome. Listen, I know you've got other people to talk to and stuff when we're over time a little bit.
Yeah, really, 2 podcasts today. No one ever wants to talk to me. This is very exciting.
I don't believe that for a second. But thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate the candid, open conversation. And looking forward to checking out the rest of the events. And thanks for
can't wait to have you back. We need to have you back
anytime. Awesome. Absolutely anytime.
You're the best. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, that is it. Thank you for listening. That was my conversation with Mike Morrison. Hopefully you found some insights and things that you can apply back to whatever project you're working on, or maybe, you know, apply some of Mike's thinking and help yourself break out of that shell, get your project rolling, or, you know, if something didn't work, pick it up and start again. So thanks for listening. If you're interested in sponsoring or talking at or attending any of the SocialNext conferences, connect with Mike on LinkedIn. Check out the website, and you will not be disappointed if you go and attend one of these. They are very, really different, great events, high energy, really good crowd. People are very engaged. So if you're looking to learn, if you're looking to share your ideas, if you're looking to reach that audience, check it out. Talk to Mike. Otherwise, thanks for listening. We will be back with another episode. I am Dave Thomas. Thanks again. This is The Strategy of Everything.